I'm watching Canadian Prepper did a video. It was speaking about how he doesn't think the world will ever be the same. Um, I respect his opinion. Canadian Prepper is one of the only preppers I remember before this happened who actually allowed the discussion of global warming, climate change, whatever. He's one of the only people I saw that at least allowed that kind of discussion to go on. And I made a comment, like I respected him for that. Real talk. Because a lot of preppers is very conservative, it's very politically driven, they're gonna take our guns, you know, we whites are gonna get moved out. That's the culture. That's what it is. That's why I stopped being a prepper for so long, because I'm like, that isn't real. I know that's not real for me. I know a lot of that's just nonsense of them ginning up conspiracy theories, but Canadian Prepper, he allowed Guy McPherson to come on. That's how I found out about Guy McPherson. You know, so anyway, he talked about overpopulation. He's talked about a lot of different discussions, and also the fact that bugging out isn't really that's not really going to work. You can't set up for that. For one thing, me and people bug out at the same time. Where they going to go? I think for most people, you won't have an opportunity to bug out before something happens, before the roads get shut down or whatever. That's not a feasible measure to take. I'm going to bug out when something happens. No, you need to have stuff ready where you're at. He's saying that he thinks in the coming years preppers will not be reviled anymore. I don't agree. In a perfect world, yes, people would say, well, you know what? John was prepared, you know. But that's not how our society works. It's not how it works, man. I think people hate what they don't understand. And I think people hate you for being prepared when they weren't. There's a hatred there too. None of that's reasonable. None of that's to be reasoned about. I'm not going to waste time on it. But the idea that people are going to say, well, he was prepared, we should be prepared too, that's not going to happen. People will forget about the 2019 coronavirus epidemic, or 2020, it started last year. People will forget. It's like we forgot about the 1918 pandemic and people died. They will forget, and life will go back to normal. We'll go back to our mindless warmongering and wars of empire. We'll go back to the police state. Everything will continue as it was. I have no shade, I have no reason to believe that things will change. I have no, I don't know what way to put it. I'm not going to be fooled believing that. For me, coronavirus is a sign of what's to come. Coronavirus really is one of those things that in a collapsing empire, you're just going to have. That's just the way it's going to be. You know? In a collapsing empire where you got this fascist, nationalistic government, you know what I'm trying to say to you? Like, to me, coronavirus was more of a wake-up call and a reminder that the government doesn't serve the people. They never did, and you'd be a fool to believe they would. You know, and now Jared Kushner comes out and tells you that the federal stockpile isn't for the states. You see my point? That just further underlines my point. I knew that already. And then they come out the next day and they change the official statement on the website. Just to show you how they feel about it. Just to show you how they feel about the people. This has really got my mind, back in the survivalist mindset. It's got me back in that, thinking about what could happen and possibilities. But I think that the world would be good to know America is no longer an entity to trust or to count on when it comes to public health. and public safety that don't trust us. Don't do it. We'll fail you. We'll fail our own people, and we'll fail the world. Don't trust us. Don't do it. Don't do it. You know, I don't believe this shit about America being blessed by God. I think America just we never really went through no big famines, and we haven't, honestly. America's never been through no big long-term depression. We haven't. Seriously. You know, I'm being honest. Not to say that we're better than anybody, because we're not. You know, we just never really been through something that was a trying time. You know, we've had Jim Crow. We've had a history of brutalizing and abusing the least amongst us. That's America's legacy, if anything. You know, and to think now that the powers that be would use a pandemic as a way to score political brownie points, I don't know. It's very sad. These people out here died in vain. They died in vain. You can have all the waving you want, waving the flag, and police cars flashing the blue lights, and doctors out there clapping. Yeah. That's all bullshit. Because at the end of the day, you had a president lie for 2 months and do nothing to prepare the American people for a pandemic that none of us have seen in our lifetimes, and probably never seen that again. And then at the end of 2 months, he says, Democrat hoax, and Chinese this, and then, well, only one person got it. Only 15 people. I mean, it's just like, people should be revolting right now. People should be like, fucking, let's take the fucking White House. I'm serious. I mean, that's how I am. You lie to me. You lie to me, you got a problem. Seriously, especially if I trust you. You lie to me, you have a problem. You can't just go to work and think that everything's forgotten. You know, it's just. And then what's Trump doing? You know, we're not going to have tests, and we're not going to promise that the vaccine will be cheap enough for everybody to afford. But he's over there attacking people in Iraq. He's over there engaging in some drug war shit on the border. I mean, this is America. This is the empire. This is what we've been talking about. This is the empire, and this is extreme monopoly capitalism at its worst. Except now you got a pandemic that it makes it an enhancement in essence. I don't think anybody will remember it. I don't think anybody will learn from this. I really don't. And that's sad. I'm sad to say that. Nothing will be learned. People like me will learn. Individuals will learn. You know, will look back at history. But just like when Snowden came out and did all the stuff he did, what good did it do? Everything Snowden said would happen happened, and no one even cares. You know, they ran around calling him a traitor, and we're in the world he talked about. He said you'd have turnkey tyranny. All it takes is one president to abuse the powers. Trump has done that. Come on, man. When he had the he had that information, he got the Burisma shit, and he put it on a top secret server. That was an abuse. That was an abuse. Okay, you don't have to be a intelligence officer to understand that was an abuse. You know, that's not what that was for. But it proved his point. Everything he talked about happened. Nobody cares. His name is not taught in school. Nobody talks about Edward Snowden or WikiLeaks or was it Glenn Greenwald? I think it's his name. Nobody talks about this stuff, man. They'll be forgotten. And what gets me is you see rednecks talk about the mark of the beast and they're going to take all our rights and stuff like that. Well, here you had people that came out and admitted, you know, the government was lying about certain things, but you don't hold them up as heroes. It's like coronavirus, for me, it just revealed the South is just one big goddamn death cult. It really is. It's a death cult here. And that's just the way. That's just the way. As we go further down this path of a collapsing empire, and you're going to see more coronavirus stuff. You're going to see more disasters that are beyond the pale. You know why? Not because the end of the world, but because you've had a capitalistic system that has wasted time, that has not funded the public health care system. The same thing when I talked about earlier with the British, how they were more concerned about people not going along with the shutdown than simply coming out there and saying, hey man, it's a crisis. This is what capitalism, this is what we've gotten to. Not to say it was always like that. I think maybe back in the day, maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago, I think you had folks in the government and in the corporations who maybe would have cared a little bit more than this. But not now. You've got a system that has chosen, we're not going to fund public health. We're not going to invest back in the communities that we serve. We refuse. We're going to let y'all die, and we're going to lie to you for 2 months. And then once it comes out that you're in a pandemic, they tell you to go back to work. That's capitalism. That's it. So I want you to die for Domino's. I want you to die for Walmart. That's it. And then anybody that says anything else otherwise, well, you're a communist, you're a liberal. I just realized that this system, it will destroy us if we don't come out against it. Like, you can't just go home and smoke some weed. You can't ignore this stuff. Because when you do, you get an emergency like the one we have now. This isn't the end of the world. This isn't, well, the end of the world's coming up. No, that's not it. You got a system that is chosen to disregard public health and public safety, and has chosen to not invest in the least amongst us. That's it. No, I'm not saying that anything Trump was going to do or could have done would have made it where no one would have died. No, you still would have had a pandemic. It still would have been bad. I'm not stupid. But when you do nothing for 2 fucking months about a pandemic, and then you come out talking about Democrat hoaxes, like, dude, this was a fuck up on the federal level of just an order of magnitude. I can't even begin to describe this. As I said earlier, I don't think if I made a movie about this, if I went back in time and made a movie about this, I don't think anybody would have believed America would have handled this so badly. I don't believe that. People would have been like, man, that's crazy. That dude, he crazy. Nobody would have believed. Nobody would have watched it. Nobody would have watched it. That'd been some old crazy nut shit. They were like, man, I think it's very sad. You know? So, peace out.